everybody, and welcome to Carving Up Live right here on YouTube, as well as on Facebook, Twitch, X, and on Instagram. I am Bryson Carver. It is great to be with you on a Wednesday. I will openly confess, before we even get anything to show, I'll openly confess. Because you guys have seen me wear this WNBA hoodie on the show all the time. Hopefully the situation with the CBA gets resolved. I'm not terribly optimistic on some of the news that's been coming out lately. I've worn this. I haven't necessarily worn this hat very much. This is the 2024 Tennessee Volunteers baseball national champions hat. I think it works. I try to be color coordinated on the show if I'm wearing a hat for it to go with a t-shirt or with a hoodie or whatever the case may be. But regardless, I think it works. So I appreciate everybody for stopping by on a Wednesday. Tons to get into. We got some NFL stuff. That's my top 10 teams, final top 10 teams from the 2025 NFL season. That's coming up on Bryson's Best 10 in about 40 to 45. But before that, on Carving Up the Context, some troubling reports regarding whether my Pittsburgh Steelers will bring back Aaron Rodgers or not. I don't like the news I'm hearing about that one bit. Discuss that in Carving Up the Context. Into the show, we do this segment right before the second half of the NBA season starts, really, right before All-Star break comes to an end, is looking at some of the teams that we're pretty sure are at bare minimum going to be in the play-in, but certainly the playoffs, and say, hey, are they a contender or a pretender? I think some surprises on both sides of that coin from the Eastern Conference and the West. Get into that at the end of today's show, as well as the Kevin Durant burner drama, which is not going away in the last few days. We'll get to that as well. But first, I really thought we were done talking about this story until the summer. I really did. I thought once we got past game 6 of the finals with the Spurs or the Thunder winning it, or who knows, maybe the Knicks win it, we can move in off-season talk and, hey, what teams have the best package for Giannis? Because that discussion might look very different from the trade deadline, depending on who has the best package for the Milwaukee Bucks. And will the Bucks trade Giannis? Well, Giannis, it's safe to say, has been a tad indecisive on this entire ordeal, whether he wants to remain a Milwaukee Buck or whether he wants to play for a team that can compete for a championship. Because the fact of the matter is, he can't do it in Milwaukee. And you hear this sort of conflict going on in Giannis's mind in a recent interview with Malik Andrews. Take a listen.
You're not okay with staying in Milwaukee and never having that feeling?
No. I want to win, but the most important thing, I want to win a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks. And if that's not on the table or in the plans, so that's when you kind of like, okay, maybe I got to pivot because I really want to win.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Giannis is in year 13. He has passed the age of 30 years old. He's a grown man. This whole ordeal has been we thought, almost assumed incorrectly, I think, hey, Giannis wants to contend for a championship and or Giannis wants to stay in Milwaukee. Like, we thought it was two sides of a coin. Giannis either wants to stay loyal to the city that he basically grew up in, became a man in, grew a family, the whole bit. He is is it fair? I have a hard time putting him as the greatest Buck all time. The greatest player to ever play for the Bucks was obviously Kareem, but Giannis has been there longer than Kareem was. Like, he is that city. The new arena, the Five-Star Forum Arena, like, that's the house that Giannis built to a certain degree. He's beloved in the city. So it's the balancing that with, man, I'm a top 3 player in the world in my prime. Injuries have ramped up as of late in the last 3 seasons. Don't know how much longer my prime's going to last to where I can be the best player in a championship contending team, lead a team to a title. And if I do lead to one or maybe a couple, my standing as one of the all-time greats goes up on the list. I don't know if Giannis is surrounded by yes men. I don't know if that's what it is, if he surrounds himself with people that tells him only what he wants to hear. But, buddy, you can't have both. I'm sorry. You of all people should know. The Milwaukee Bucks they're not even going to get in the play-in tournament. And you say, oh, that's because Giannis went down. They were struggling to get him before Giannis went down. When he's averaging a 30-point double-double every night, 5-6 assists a night on 60% shooting. Giannis hasn't declined. Giannis has actually, by the numbers, gotten better the last few years, if that's even possible to think of. Milwaukee made their push. They went and got Drew Holiday. Guess what? He got a championship out of it. Giannis had one of the greatest individual performances we've ever seen in the NBA Finals in that 2021 series against Phoenix. All-time stuff. And then once that kind of fizzled out, you had the second round exit to the Boston Celtics 2022. Took them 7, went down. You ran out of gas. Giannis was great in that series. The year after, Giannis hurts his back. Game 1 against Miami. Jimmy Butler goes just insane in that series. The best playoff series that playoff Jimmy's ever had. And that's saying something. Giannis isn't healthy. Drew Holiday struggles. Middleton. You go out in 5 games. Get gentlemen swept by the 8 seed. Giannis looks at that situation. He's like, you know what? I'm not sure if I'm going to stay here or not. I don't know if I want to sign an extension in Milwaukee or not. Y'all need to make a push. And they say, okay, Damian Lillard. Dame has been in a similar situation, not as great as Giannis, but similar situation where great player, future Hall of Famer, small market franchise that cannot win a championship right now. Instead, small market franchise may want to get some assets from Milwaukee that they can parlay into players or into future picks. You team up with Dame. 2020, I guess that'd have been 2024. Giannis isn't healthy whatsoever. Dame's in and out of the lineup. And then the year after, Dame goes down with Achilles. Giannis is dragging that team. They end up getting gentlemen swept by the Indiana Pacers. Like, the Bucks have gone backwards for the last 5 years. And that's with coaching changes. Firing Mike Budenholzer, Adrian Griffin, and now Doc Rivers, which we called on the show at the time 2 years ago, was an atrocious hire. That's with bringing in Drew Holiday and then trading Drew Holiday. Ends up in Boston winning a championship, by the way. And then bring in Dame. That doesn't work. Milwaukee's trying to make the most out of it. They make a move for Miles Turner. Like, Miles Turner's a good player. Was an integral part of the Pacers getting the finals last year. He's not moving the needle for the Bucks to win a title. I mean, what are we doing? And so if Giannis either can't recognize that or is in just straight up denial about it, then he's probably a more immature player than we thought. His outlook on the NBA, I mean, they're in the weaker conference. It'd be one thing if Milwaukee was the 11th seed in the West. It's like, okay, maybe make a few moves, or even in the grand sense, San Antonio's not going anywhere. Neither is OKC, Denver. Houston's got a bright future. You're just not going to be competing for a title anytime soon. 11 seed in the East, the Heat and the Chicago Bulls, these teams are ahead of you. Now, I hesitate to say Charlotte, because Charlotte's actually got a very bright future with Knipple and Ball and all those guys, Brandon Miller. Charlotte's been better than you this year. They've got high picks, been able to develop those guys, and hey, I kind of like to see the Hornets maybe sneak in as an 8 seed. It'd be fun. I'm just flabbergasted at the Giannis asks out. No, actually, the Bucks are looking to move Giannis. He wouldn't mind to stay, but the Bucks think it's in their best interest to move him now while he's in his prime to get the most out of it, the trade they possibly can. Then Giannis says the interview days before the deadline, I think like 24 hours before the deadline, no, I want to stay in Milwaukee. And so because that, the Warriors pull out of the Giannis sweepstakes. Over time, so do the Timberwolves and the Miami Heat. Giannis then is posting these cryptic messages on social media about, hey, look how much, rent I'm holding in y'all's heads. It's like, you were the guy who, according to Shams, was working with the organization on a trade. I mean, let's keep it a buck. Reputation can be the greatest gift and the greatest curse to somebody. Giannis came into the NBA 2013, it's a late first-round pick, develops, was the most improved player, I think, in 2017. 2 years later, is the MVP of the league, wins another MVP the following season, wins a finals MVP the year after that, with the defensive player of the year, sandwiched in there. And Giannis has this sunny disposition. He comes from Greece. And again, I've referenced so many times the show. Years ago, he did an interview with 60 Minutes that was just fantastic. He's talking about the first time that he got to the States. He had a smoothie. He said, God bless America. This smoothie is amazing. And like, Giannis is a likable guy. He smiles, he grins, but also go at your head, dunk on 3 guys. He's accomplished. He's a champion. He's a 2-time MVP. He's one of the probably 30 greatest players in basketball history, 30, 35. But if somebody like a LeBron James, a Kevin Durant, who, oh my gosh, they've just got reputations for just team hopping. I mean, my goodness, if the situation isn't perfect, man, they're out of there. LeBron James led the Cleveland Cavaliers to multiple 60-win seasons and a finals appearance in 2007 when it was a toss-up at who his second-best player was between Zydrunas Ilgauskas and, Anderson Varejao, Mo Williams. Who are these guys? He wanted to contend for titles. And LeBron made that decision. It was literally called the decision. Took hell from everybody, from media, from fans, the city of Cleveland, burned him in effigy, basically. Stuck to his guns. Kevin Durant, we'll get to KD in a few minutes. You can debate how KD handled the exit from Oklahoma City, but he stuck to his guns. Even his departure from Golden State, which I forget that I'm a Warriors fan, and maybe you shouldn't, because, of course, I love KD. I wanted KD to be the Warriors. I vehemently disagreed with, especially going to Brooklyn, for crying out loud. It'd be one thing if you went to the Celtics or the Clippers or a better position team and win a title. Brooklyn stood 10 toes down. Didn't look back twice. I'm sure there were discussions between KD and his agent, Rich Kleiman. Or in the case of LeBron and Rich Paul and his inner circle. Going over all these different scenarios. We never had them doing it in real time in front of the media. The Bucks haven't been a championship contender in 3 years. And have gotten worse, by the way, in that span. And you're still indecisive about where your future lies? If you want to contend for titles or if you want to play, I want to win championships for the Bucks. Man, in part because of moves you've forced the organization to make, they've gotten worse. Coaching moves, trades, draft picks. Now, that's not necessarily on Giannis, but the Bucks are out of options. They're in cap hell. They have no assets. I mean, it's remarkable to think the Bucks are probably more willing to move off Giannis than vice versa. And that never happens. Cavs didn't want to move on from LeBron. OKC didn't want to move on from Kevin Durant. So we talk about guys that are divas or headaches. Is this not at least a little bit of a little bit of a headache for the Milwaukee Bucks as an organization? Does this not give a team like Minnesota, Miami? I don't think Golden State has at least as good of assets now as or in the summers they did a couple of weeks ago. Does it not give teams like that some cause for pause? Like, is his heart still in Milwaukee? Does he really want to be here? He says he wants to win championships, but then he says he wants to do it in Milwaukee. But then he says if they can't do it in Milwaukee, he wants to win championships. He's arguing in circles here. And I'll be honest, man, it's hard to make a case that Giannis's, approval rating, so to speak, hasn't fallen quite a bit in the last month or so. If you want to stay loyal to Milwaukee, God bless you. You do you, man. No one can ever say you didn't want to lead that city to a championship. Nobody. If you want to compete for championships elsewhere, hey, you wouldn't be the first superstar to want to do that. But stop playing us for fools as if we're not following each and every word that comes out of your mouth because you're a top 3 player in the league. We're curious to see where you're going to be playing basketball in the future. It's unbelievable. So, listen, I like Giannis. I do. He's hard not to like. Just his disposition, the run to the finals in 2021 was unbelievable, but it's getting a little tiresome at this point. Make your mind up. You were part of the reason the organization's at where it's at, and now you're indecisive about whether you want to leave or not. Again, the Bucks are more willing to move off you than you are from Milwaukee, and that I did not see coming. So from one, I guess it's safe to say a bit of a diva superstar to a guy that has gotten that reputation over time, Kevin Durant. This story is not going anywhere the last few days. You saw stuff start to leak out All-Star Sunday, and now we're at Wednesday, and it's not going anywhere. So there are folks that believe that they have found a burner account that belongs to Kevin Durant. In fact, the account handle, I'm looking at USA Today, it's called GetHire77, at GetHire77. If you want to give him a follow before the account gets deleted, feel free. But it says it was created in August of 2021 and just has 75 followers and following 75 other users. And they asked Kevin Durant about the situation. Like, is this actually your account or whatever? So this account, and it's, or I should say, and then just from the USA Today article, the images show direct messages sent from the account that seemingly disparage Rockets All-Star center Alperen Sengun and guard Jabari Smith Jr. These direct messages are in the first person and imply the Rockets are this blank-ass team. The messages also use offensive epithets. Your franchise, this is a quote, your franchise player can't shoot or defend, one message reads, seemingly alluding to Sengun. That's a way bigger issue than my turnovers. Remember, those guys are your future. Another message reads, I can't trust Jabari to make a bleeping shot or get a stop. So, I'll tell you where I'm most... Here's the thing. We don't know for certain if this is KD's burners. I want to say that in the front end. Let me start with what I'm most disappointed with of this entire ordeal. I thought KD was past this. You're like, Bryson, he's always been active on social... No. The burner thing. I thought he was done with that. And listen, I'm sure it would not surprise you how many professional athletes or public figures, for that matter, probably have burner accounts. Just to, even if set accounts have like 21 followers, just to put their frustrations into the ether. Get it off their chest. That's the modern way of doing it nowadays is on social media, whether that's healthy or not. That's a different discussion for a different show, but that's how a lot of people do business. KD is from that generation. I'm even more from that generation. Katie's a millennial. I'm Gen Z. So like it's similar sort of mindset. I get it to a degree. But when Katie first got exposed for these burners around, I think summer of 2017, this is after he won his first championship. And that got exposed. It was kind of embarrassing for him. Over time, I'll be honest to God, I've said it on the show. I've kind of grown to like Katie's use of social media on his actual Twitter account. Easy Money Sniper. Is Easy Money Sniper on Twitter? I know that's his Instagram. I've kind of liked it. Or maybe it's Katie Trey 5 is his Twitter. Regardless, I've kind of enjoyed someone takes a shot at Katie and he snaps right back at him. It's like, at least he's, A, standing on business, and B, he's not hiding. He's not giving the BS politically correct answer, man, I just tune out the noise. Katie's like, nope, I actually like the noise and it fuels me. I mean, because the thing I've always argued in Katie's defense, he's never hurt his game. I mean, he's still averaging 25 to 27 points a game on really efficient shooting. Even though he's in year 18, he's one of the most gifted scorers in the history of the game. Hasn't hurt his game. If it messes with his mind, okay, that's a different conversation. Doesn't look like it. Even his interactions with people sitting courtside, or there was a really funny, now this isn't just some guy, this is a Hall of Famer, but Katie, back when he was in Phoenix last year, played a road game at Golden State. And Gary Payton, not Gary Payton II, OG Gary Payton, is in the stands, I'd say five rows behind the Suns bench. Someone is shooting free throws, and him and Katie are just back and forth talking. It's like, and I think it was actually covered on Starting Five, the Netflix show with Kevin Durant. Like, it was kind of cool. Like, two all-time legendary players. Katie's going to join Gary Payton in Springfield someday in the Hall of Fame. Like, it was kind of dope. Like, I thought KD, after going through, because the first 9 years of his career, KD would clap back at somebody, but I would say you can make a case. KD might have been the most beloved player in the NBA from a on-court and from a PR standpoint, from an off-court. There's a lot of that stems from the "You the Real MVP" speech to his amazing mother, Wanda Durant, back in 2014. Like, it's one of the all-time tearjerker sports press conference moments. He's always been involved in philanthropy off the court. Matter of fact, I think KD might have actually won the NBA's equivalent of the Walter Payton Man of the Year award in, I think it was 2018. So his off-court work speaks for itself. Like, I think, generally speaking, I think KD's a good dude. I really, really do. Former teammates of his, especially in the Warriors, Steph Curry, can't speak highly enough of him. Love him. I thought KD was past this point in his life, to where he goes from beloved, then reviled just by virtue of going to Golden State, KD sort of initially embraces that villain role. Then he kind of gets tired, similar to LeBron, gets tired of the villain role, is lashing out at people. The last year in Golden State was very chaotic. Ethan Strauss wrote a great book about it, kind of detailing the internal stuff that was going on in Golden State. Goes to Brooklyn, and it felt like over time, the 3 years he was with the Nets, and then the, 2 years he was with the Phoenix Suns, in that 5-year stretch, KD was sort of starting to grow into the, I don't really care what y'all think about me as it relates to my social media activity. I'm just going to post from my social media. The fact that he's not only hiding from a burner, but might, again, we don't know if this is KD's burners, but is attacking teammates. Jabari Smith, Alperen Şengün, who's in KD's great, but in a year and a half, 2 years, Şengün or Amin Thompson, in all likelihood, are going to be the best player or the foundational piece of the Houston Rockets moving forward. The whole idea of Houston making the move for KD is last year in the postseason, man, Houston could lock you up. But in that playoff series against Golden State, watch all 7 games, obviously, the Warriors fan, they didn't have a guy they could just give the ball to, and he gets them a shot outside of Şengün. And he was kind of limited in how he could get shots, especially against Draymond as the series, wore on. So they're like, hey, who's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card in the opposite side of the floor? It's Kevin Durant. Let's make a move for him and trade Dillon Brooks. Safe to say that has worked for Houston. Again, Van Vliet's out, so they don't have their point guard. You'll see where I have Houston on Pretenders and Contenders at the end of the show. Steven Adams down. That's a big loss. Like, Houston's taking their bumps and bruises this year. But if this is true, they're dead in arrival in the playoffs. Like, I'm already not that high in Houston. I'm out on Houston completely. If it comes out, yeah, this is true, and he's been ripping teammates behind their backs. This is why, if it's true, this is why somebody like Draymond Green is so valuable to a championship contending team. This is why, remember the iconic confrontation? A lot of people believe the nail in the coffin for KD leaving the Warriors. November 2018, Warriors-Clippers, KD, Draymond had the back and forth in the locker room. Draymond's repeatedly calling, the 5-letter word starts with a B and ends with an H. And he's saying, we don't need you. This is his exact quote. We don't need you. We won without you. Leave. Is that sometimes you do, and this is in life. Kind of a little bit in reference to the Giannis story at the start of the show. Sometimes you need people in life to be brutally honest with you. That goes for me. That goes for everybody. Regardless of where you're at whatever point in your life. KD, at that point, late 2018, there were a lot of folks who were like, is he the best player in basketball? Is he better than LeBron? It was like consensus, oh, he's definitely better than Steph, which I disagree with, but oh, he's absolutely better than Steph Curry. Draymond, because KD was not just in the locker room, but in terms of the flow of the offense, kind of doing his own thing. And Draymond's like, buddy, we won 67 games in a title without you in 2015. We literally beat you en route to the finals in 16, won 73 games and came a Kyrie shot away from winning the whole dang thing, back to back. We've got a 2-time MVP on our roster. Like, if you're with us, we're unstoppable. If you're not, we can still win, as they literally showed with Draymond and Klay at reduced versions of themselves. Still won a title in 2022. I'm legitimately, I don't sound like a, like the classic white dad in a movie. Oh, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. I don't want to sound like that, but I am kind of disappointed in KD. If this is true, if this burner count does indeed belong to Kevin Durant, and he's out here taking shots at teammates under an anonymous username, that's chicken, you know what? Bron wouldn't do that. Steph wouldn't do that. So like that's one of the lack of leadership intangibles is one of the reasons that as legendarily great as KD is, not quite in Steph's level and certainly not on LeBron's level. All time we're talking. So that's where we're at. Gonna take a quick break. Speaking of legendary players who are enigmas, Aaron Rodgers. I swear to God, if we have to do a 4-month waiting process, I'll save that. for the next segment. We also got Bryson's best 10, my final top 10 NFL teams of the 2025 season. I'm sure you're going to have a decent idea who number one is, but from 2 on down is really the conversation. Get to that, and a segment I do every year, pretenders and contenders coming out of the NBA All-Star break. All that's coming up in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. Stay tuned. Back to Carving Up Live. Appreciate everybody for stopping by on a Wednesday. Just as a programming update, and we've been doing this recently as of late because we are, let's be honest, in somewhat of a dead period of the sports calendar. Like that period post-Super Bowl leading up to March Madness, with the exception of the NBA, not that much going on. Although NFL free agency coming up in a couple of weeks, or 2-3 weeks, very, very excited about that. There's a lot of big name players. I mean, even Super Bowl MVP is probably going to be a free agent available for anybody to sign in Kenneth Walker, because it was reported recently the Seahawks aren't going to franchise tag him because he doesn't want to be franchise tagged. He wants the bag. Get it from his perspective, the Super Bowl MVP. So that free agency and the occasional like big last quarter of the season NBA games, that's about it. Now, once we get to March Madness, then we got the NBA playoffs and the draft happens in that span. Like that's, listen, my favorite time, I'll be honest, my favorite time doing shows like this, or the podcast in general, is Labor Day to the Super Bowl. I mean, especially the best month, the month where I don't have to do a lot of picking and choosing as far as topics, October. Of course, it's we all know, best month of sports calendar. You got NFL going on. You got college football going on. You got postseason baseball going on. You got the NBA is starting. NHL, I'm not an NHL fan, but NHL starts. The WNBA playoffs bleeding into the finals are going on at in that time. So it's a blast. But I say all that to say, around this sort of murky area of the sports calendar, not going to be doing a ton of Friday shows moving forward. Again, we might alternate Friday and Wednesday, but more likely than not, we'll do Monday, Wednesday, each and every week. Now, again, as we get closer to March Madness, we're back to all 3 days a week. So very, very excited for that process. We'll have mock drafts. We got plenty of stuff planned for the future on Carving Up Live. So you'll definitely want to check it out. And also, we'd appreciate if you did so wearing some Carving It Up merch. You can scan the QR code on the top left corner of your screen. It'll take you to the website. We got hats, we got t-shirts, we got coffee mugs, we got jogging pants, we got jogging shorts, we've got stuffed teddy bears. If you already want to get, people aren't really planning their summer vacations right now, but if you want to get a head start, we got Carving It Up beach towels on the website. So check out that stuff. You can also check out our incredible content creators of the Grid Network. They got some merch as well. We got All Even Podcast, Saturday Morning Tailgate. We got Mike and Josh, all kinds. And if you just want Grid Network merch, we got that too. Okay, we got Grid Network hats and t-shirts. So scan that QR code on the top left corner of your screen to purchase some of our merch. We would greatly appreciate it. Now, there's not really I guess it is a story, not an article per se, but a quote from a beat writer in Pittsburgh that implies, if not outright says, that whether or not Aaron Rodgers will be a Steeler next year, we're going to know that pretty soon. So before I get any of that, as the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, primetime Deion Sanders says, "Give me my theme music." On this week's edition of Carving Up the Context, which we do every Wednesday in the show, y'all know I'm a Steelers fan, and y'all know that I am a longtime Aaron Rodgers critic, I've always acknowledged he is probably the most gifted player to ever play the position in the history of the NFL. He is indisputably a top 10 quarterback. His resume speaks for itself. He's top 5 in every major statistical category. He was the passer rating king for the longest time. Top 5 in touchdown passes. Like the numbers, he's got 4 MVPs. He got a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP back in 2010. Like, his resume is what it is. He's top 10 quarterback ever. No questions asked. You cannot rank 10 quarterbacks in the history of the league and not include his name. I have also said he would have more championships, or at least more Super Bowl appearances, if he had the leadership intangibles that Brady had, that Peyton Manning had. Shoot, that freaking Eli Manning had, a guy who doesn't have a quarter of the talent. Respect to you, Eli, but a quarter of the talent of one Aaron Rodgers. So Mark Kaboly, hope I'm saying his name correctly, is a Pittsburgh beat reporter or beat writer. He went on 93.7 The Fan, which is the flagship radio station of the Steelers in Pittsburgh. And when asked about the process for Aaron Rodgers, whether or not he might come back, he said, and I quote, "I still think it's going to be before free agency. I think that he has enough respect for the process, respect for Mike McCarthy, for the Steelers organization as a whole, that he knows he can't just leave them hanging like last year." Now, for those that may not have followed the process, last year, it was like a lot of things with Aaron Rodgers. He takes a really long time to make decisions about whether or not he's going to play. So Aaron did not sign with the Steelers. Free agency opens in early March. He did not sign with the Steelers until early June. It was a 3-month waiting period. Why? Who knows? But he didn't sign until June. So, and by the way, in that process, I don't know who I'm going to play for. Like, dude, there's one team interested in you. Stop being coy. We know you're going to Pittsburgh. Whether I like it or not, you're going to Pittsburgh. This is sort of not really a cousin, more like a sibling of the argument I made for the longest time, for the last year, against Mike Tomlin or against the so-called Tomlin way, or the standard, whatever people wanted that to be, is the goal in Pittsburgh to eventually contend for championships. After all, the Steelers literally do have the most championships of any franchise in the Super Bowl era, tied with the Patriots at 6. Pretty decorated history. Dynasty in the 70s, won 2 Super Bowls in the 2000s with Big Ben and with that great defense with Harrison and Polamalu and those guys. The question I would ask to a Mike McCarthy, who, I'll be honest, I did not like the hire when the news first broke from Schefter. And over time, I thought about him like, okay, Bryson, I'm talking to myself. You have been looking for an offensive guy. He's an offensive guy who, by the way, has had some really good offenses, much more recently than Tomlin, has had great defenses. That's something. Last fully healthy season of him to having Dak Prescott. Dak almost won MVP. Now, do I think that's mostly a Dak thing than a McCarthy thing? Yes, but McCarthy didn't screw that up, per se. Is he behind the times in that he doesn't really use motion? Yes, and that is deeply concerning to me. Not a lot of creativity. That's a problem. The biggest, to me, plus of hiring this guy, he does work well with quarterbacks. He does. His first year in the Packers organization was Aaron Rodgers' second year in Green Bay. Like, he was a kid. He hadn't played at all yet. Still backing up Brett Favre at that point. So he got to develop, not just behind Favre, but get developed by McCarthy for 2 years prior to him getting the starting job in 2008. Dak Prescott, as productive as he was, mechanically, there were some issues. Not the case by the time McCarthy was done with him. And now Dak is more of a complete player than he's ever been. Some credit goes to Mike. So I say all that to say this. What is the upside of bringing Aaron Rodgers back in 2026? Other than, hey, one last run with old Rodgers. By the way, old Rodgers, who literally got you fired in Green Bay. Like, that's what happened. Aaron Rodgers was working behind the scenes. You had an embarrassing late season loss to the Josh Rosen Cardinals. McCarthy gets fired. And you say, but Bryson, listen, Aaron was pretty good last year. I mean, you look at his numbers. What do you have? 25 touchdown bets? He was pretty good. Yeah, until he faced good teams. Show those numbers. Aaron Rodgers against playoff teams last year, he was bad. He was really bad. 6 touchdowns, as many picks, 57% completion, this is bad, 164 pass yards a game, the king of passer rating, 70. QBR 0 to 100, 23. Record, 1-5. That one win came against the Patriots back in week 3. That was A, before the Patriots got rolling, and B, New England turned it over 5 times in that game, and the Steelers still barely won. So it should be 0-6. So, against the good teams, and by the way, you know what the Steelers are going to have in 2026? A first-place schedule. They're going to play all the good teams, or at least the teams that were good last year. We know the NFL's a year-to-year league, but the Steelers, in theory, will have a pretty brutal schedule. So, from a production standpoint, you can't make the case Aaron Rodgers works in Pittsburgh. From a development standpoint, honestly, given the hire of McCarthy, which tells me the Steelers, whether I like it or not, are just allergic to bottoming out for a couple of years. Okay, listen, the Super Bowl champion Seattle, they didn't bottom out. You can go the other route and do that. What I'd actually like the Steelers to do, particularly now that they have an offensive coach, let Rodgers walk, whether he retires or not. Bring in Malik Willis, sign him to a 2-year deal. He showed some signs in Green Bay. Another organization, obviously, that develops quarterbacks well. See what the kid has. This is a very weak quarterback draft. I do not want the Steelers to draft Ty Simpson. Go in with QB1 being Malik Willis, QB2 being Will Howard. I'm not as high on Will Howard as a lot of Steelers fans are, but hey, we haven't seen him play yet. Let's see what the kid has. Let's see what he has now that he gets the chance to be developed by Mike McCarthy. Aaron Rodgers hampers that. Gets all the first-team reps. Getting all the media attention. Oh, is this Aaron's last year? Like, the Steelers don't need those type of distractions in the franchise. And bringing Aaron Rodgers back to me would just be basically an extension of the old Tomlin era. Hey, we're going to be just good enough to maybe make the playoffs, definitely to get that non-losing record, potentially. We're going to go 9-8, 10-7, and we maybe sneak in as the 7th seed. Or we pray to God Baltimore has another down year. I don't think they will. And sneak in as the 4th seed and get curb stomped by, pick your team, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Houston again. Look toward the future. Because I don't imagine if Aaron Rodgers was doing this against good teams that those stats will improve, particularly with the fact the Steelers are playing a first-place schedule next year. The fact that the Browns defense, which ate Aaron alive in Week 17, Myles Garrett's not going anywhere last time I checked. They have the Defensive Rookie of the Year at linebacker. Baltimore, it's still Baltimore. Steelers tend to own the Ravens, but you got Jesse Minter coming in. He should fix the defense. And Cincinnati, for the time being, has got Joe Burrow. He's still going to give you problems. So, I hope Mark Kabola is correct on this, that Aaron makes his call like that. If Mark has inside sources that says Aaron's going to make this call, that honestly tells me Aaron's probably going to retire, which he should, because no one's going to be interested in him. This better not last past, March 27th. Let's set that date, March 27th. This should not be a situation where basically all the big free agents have been signed. Now teams are turning their attention completely to the draft. There's pro days, there's scout, all of this. The Steelers, we're still not sure if Aaron's coming back or not. We're just kind of waiting for him. The season ended, in mid-January, and still not sure if he's coming back. So in this week's edition, carving up the context, there's not a single upside. Any upside that the Steelers deluded themselves into thinking was there a year ago with bringing Aaron in is, hey, this might be Tomlin's last year. He's coming to the end of his contract. Might be Aaron's last year. We're going to load up on vets. We're going to bring in DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey and Cam Hayward and TJ Watt over here, and we're going to go with the old guys, and we're going to make one last push. At the very least, let's get a playoff win. Well, guess what? You got predictably annihilated again in the playoffs. in large part because quarterback play was atrocious in that game. And by the way, Aaron, being the combative individual he is, basically stopped throwing to DK Metcalf after the first quarter because he, God forbid, dropped a pass. Because that's what Aaron always does. Screw up once, hell with you. So, I pray to God he doesn't come back. I don't want him anywhere near the facility in Pittsburgh. But we'll see what happens. Staying on the NFL, though, we do this segment every... I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the NBA segment. I think this is technically my first time doing this particular segment is top 10 teams in the NFL after the season's over. Like, I haven't done Bryson's Best 10 featuring 10 NFL teams since Wild Card Weekend, which feels like an eternity ago. But let's go and get the background music going on right now, and let's rank my top 10 teams in the NFL. Here we go. All right, we'll start at number 10, the 10th best team in the National Football League from the 2025 season is the team that came in as the defending champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were the 10th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So it was obviously a rocky year for Philadelphia. This was a team that defensively was pretty consistent all season long, had a great defensive backfield that did bring in Brandon Graham to kind of shore up that interior, the defensive line out of retirement. Jalen Carter was solid. They still had a good pass rush. Zach Vaughn did his thing. The problem, of course, with the Philadelphia Eagles is their offense completely died in the second half of games, and that eventually, this is why we do playoff weaknesses before every playoff start, and this was the case for Philly. Their offense just died in the second half all season long. They were inarguably the worst playoff team in terms of second half offense, points scored, yards, all of that. But Jalen Hurts seemed to have some struggles reading the field, making throws that we've seen Jalen make in the past, which tells me it's a play calling issue. It's a coaching issue, which to me falls back on Nick Sirianni. I think they're going to move on from A.J. Brown. I'll be honest, man, with as chaotic as this Eagles offseason has been, I'm not sure I'm picking them to make the playoffs next year. I mean, they barely got, I should say barely. They got in this year in large part because the NFC East was terrible. Don't think it's going to be as bad next year with Harbaugh coming in. If the Cowboys upgrade their defense, Washington still is Jaden Daniels. Like, I'm pulling back on Philly, but this is just from last season. This is not projections from last season. The Eagles were the 10th best team in the National Football League. The team that beat them in the playoffs is at number 9. It is the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners were the 9th best team in the National Football League last season. Here's why. So the fact that they're even on this list at all, again, I say it over and over, is just the biggest credit imaginable to Kyle Shanahan with all of the injuries this team had. Purdy was in and out of the lineup. By the way, Purdy's backup was Mac Jones, who Kyle Shanahan made it look like, hey, could teams call the Niners to trade for Mac Jones to be their starter? That's coaching right there. Christian McCaffrey was the only constant for the team all season long. McKittle was in and out of the lineup. He unfortunately blew his Achilles against Philly. Ayuk didn't play a snap for San Francisco this year, and he's not going to be playing snaps for the Niners for obvious reasons. Ricky Pearsall in and out of the lineup. The offensive line dealing with injuries defensively. Bosa gone. Warner gone. Some pass rushers dealing with injuries. Like the fact that they got, and this is why I didn't even crush anybody on that team for getting destroyed by Seattle. Man, they were supposed to compete with the Seahawks in the fashion that they were. So credit to the Niners winning 12 games with a beat-up roster. Might be a team to keep your eye out for in 2026, but in 2025, they were the 9th best team in the National Football League. At number 8, it is the Houston Texans. The Texans were the 8th best team in the National Football League last season. Here's why. So they had probably the best defense from start to finish. They indisputably had the best pass rush duo in Danielle Hunter and in Will Anderson. You had Derek Stingley Jr. in the defensive backfield. You obviously have guys like Henry To'o and Aziz Al-Shaair. Just a stacked defense. And again, the mark of any competent coach in the NFL, what's your sensibility? What's your side of the ball? How good is that side of the ball? How productive are they? Well, DeMeco Ryans is far better than competent because you see what he's done with the Niners defense in the past when he was the defensive coordinator in San Francisco, and then now in Houston. They've invested in that side of the ball. DeMeco Ryans has coached the you-know-what out of that team, and that's really the primary reason they won 12 games and did win a playoff game over my Steelers before losing to New England in the divisional, is the fact that quarterback play held them back. Offensive play calling held them back. And so this is going to be a very, very fascinating team and a very fascinating locker room to follow in 2026. And that CJ Stroud is the great rookie season. He thinks he's the cat's meow. He's going out here sumo wrestling. He's going on like this off-season tour. He's mentoring Caleb Williams in week 2 of 2 seasons ago. Got a little high on his horse, so to speak, and now you had people questioning if Davis Mills would have been a better option at quarterback for the playoffs for Houston. The defense got them there. The defense is the reason that the Houston Texans were the 8th best team in the league last season. The division rival, though, is one spot above them. It is this is Houston Texans. That should say the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags were the 7th best team in the National Football League last season. Here's why. So, listen, I said coming in, this was a put up or shut up year for Trevor Lawrence. If Trevor doesn't, in year 5, take that next step, as much as I loved him out of college, I'm out. We're half decade in. Like, just haven't seen him take that next step. Well, guess what? Trevor Lawrence finished in 5th place for MVP. Trevor Lawrence, in the last 6 games of the year, quite literally, we've done numerous segments on it, was the best quarterback in football. You talk about the Jags, the best their second best offense in the league in that span. He led the league in total touchdowns, only had 1 turnover in that span. Like, Trevor was outstanding. Saw the field much better, cut down on the bad turnovers, the bad mistakes. Jacksonville, to me, needs to go heavy on the defensive side of the ball in this draft. Offensively, they're pretty much set. You've got Trevor, you've got ETN, you've got an excellent, very underrated offensive line. Travis Hunter coming back from injury, Parker Washington. Jacksonville's in really good shape offensively moving forward, and Liam Cohen was outstanding this year coaching this football team. They just happened to lose to a team with, as much as I love Trevor, a better quarterback who's a spot above them. It is the Buffalo Bills. The Bills were the 6th best team in the National Football League last season, and here's why. So for Buffalo, again, a lot of this was Josh Allen was outstanding. He was top 5 candidate for MVP. Once again, I feel like he's kind of lived in that territory since 2020. James Cook led the NFL in rushing. The O-line was great. He had 2 excellent tight ends. Receiving core left a lot to be desired. When you have a Keon Coleman, who is so much of a bust, that a team with no wide receiver help whatsoever. I mean, Khalil Shakir is the number 1. That's it. They have to bring in Brandon Cooks, who's, I think, was in year 12 coming into last season. They're benching Keon Coleman late in the season before the playoff run started. And again, while I had questions about their defense coming into the postseason, by and large, they kind of kept them in the game against Denver when Josh Allen turned the ball over not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times against the Denver Broncos. They do need to upgrade that side of the ball. Bringing Joe Brady in next season certainly, I think, will help the opposite side of the ball in terms of how they draft and whatnot. But defensively, is their DC going to be an upgrade over Sean McDermott? Only time will tell. A lot of uncertainty for the Bills moving forward. They were the 6th best team in the NFL last season. A team that I loved all season long and had a blast rooting for, not as a fan of this team, but as someone who thought they would do well, and they exceeded even my expectations. It is the Chicago Bears. The Bears were the 5th best team in the National Football League last season, and here's why. So they were the comeback kids all season long. Caleb Williams had 7 game-winning drives last season, including doing so, obviously, in the postseason. Down 21-3 to your arch rival, the Packers. It looks like coming in, man. Green Bay's been the team of that division for 30 years. Chicago's always been little brother. They got the game at home. Green Bay opens up a big lead. It's like, yep, same old Bears. And Caleb Williams comes alive in the second half. The Bears defense, to their credit, I thought from the second half of the Packers game all the way through the Rams game, the defense, which I had huge concerns about, played quite well. Dennis Allen, bad head coach, great DC. I'm telling you, and I've said this at the end of their season when they lost the Rams the divisional round after Caleb made the miracle pass to get it to overtime. If this team upgrades the defensive side of the ball, I think I'm just going to call it now. I think I'm picking the Bears to go to the Super Bowl next year. Ben Johnson's a brilliant offensive line. They've got an outstanding O-line, which they upgraded the previous offseason. Receiving core is excellent. They've invested in that group. Tight ends, running game. Caleb took a huge step from year 1 to year 2. He's got to improve the accuracy, yes. Everything else, he's an A++. And clutch ability, arm strength, arm angles, mobility, the whole bit. Bears have a very bright future. They were the 5th best team in the NFL last season. At number 4, a team that I didn't think was as good as the record said they were, but hey, they were one of the last 4 teams standing. It was the Denver Broncos. The Broncos were the 4th best team in the National Football League last season, and here's why. So again, you want to talk about teams that lived on the edge. Denver won, I think, like 81% of their wins. 81% of Denver's wins came came by 1 score, which was by far the highest percentage of any playoff team in the NFL last season. But you talk about a team that led the NFL in sacks. Nick Bonito and company did their thing. Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen is outstanding on the interior of that defensive line. Surtain's great in the secondary. Offensively, listen, I think Cortland Sutton showed if he's not a number one receiver, he's a number two on a great offense. A team that has like a Justin Jefferson or a Jackson Smith and Jigba as their number one. Like, that's a team like that. Okay, Cortland Sutton is your two. Regardless, I thought he stepped up in big clutch moments this season for Denver. I thought despite the running back injury, they ran the ball well. They had arguably the best offensive line in football last season, Sean Payton. And Bo Nix did take a step up from his rookie year, in which he was still quite good. Still need to see a little bit more growth from him, but it is a question. Hey, if Bo had been healthy for that AFC Championship game, do they make the Super Bowl? I guess we'll never know. But the team that beat them is in the number 3 spot. It is the New England Patriots. The Patriots were the 3rd best team in the National Football League last season. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what defensive Patriots fans are going to say. We made the Super Bowl. How could you not? Listen, let's just use basic common sense here, because, at this point, you know who number 2 and number 1 are. Number 1 is the team that won the Super Bowl. Number 2 took them to the wire, not once, not twice, but 3 times. You, on the other hand, played, let's be honest, the 8th easiest schedule in the NFL post-merger, and you beat teams that couldn't punch back in the postseason. The Chargers, it's playoff Justin Herbert. The Texans, C.J. Stroud forgot how to play the position. In the AFC title game, you're playing Jarrett Stidham. What are we doing? And Drake May struggle in those instances. Now, Drake May did finish second for league MVP, and deservedly so. He had 35 total touchdowns, led the league in passer rating, was the completion percentage king, like the whole bit. Drake was outstanding. The Patriots have a very, very bright future with this player, with this young group of talented skill position players, such as a Travion Henderson, such as guys like Keyshawn Boutte, Pop Douglas. Like, if they continue to hit on these guys of a draft, we forget how bad Belichick destroyed this roster for a decade plus in the draft. Just get someone competent in there, Elliott Wolf and Mike Vrabel. They're going to fix that roster in no time. Now, next year, I do expect them to take a step back because their schedule, particularly on the road, is absolutely brutal. Next season, still, Patriots got a bright future ahead, but they were not the second best team in the NFL, and obviously they weren't the best team. The second best team, though, was the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams were the second best team in the National Football League last season. Here's why. It's in large part stems from the MVP of the league, Matt Stafford, who had 46 touchdown passes, had the best year of his career, in which we thought a year ago at this time, is Stafford coming back at all? If he is coming back, is he coming back to the Rams? Well, you bring back, obviously, Puka Nacua going into year 3 has an outstanding year. You bring in Devontae Adams, who is the red zone king for the Rams. Kyron Williams had some fumbling issues, early on, but still stepped in, did a great job. Parkinson, the tight end, the Rams were very underrated in their ability to beat you in multiple different ways offensively. They could beat you in the running game, which set up the play action. Stafford would eat you alive on that. Or they could just go 5 wide, and Stafford, you make your magic down the field. Again, their 3 games against Seattle. Won by 2, lost by 1 in overtime, lost by 4 in the NFC Championship game. I mean, a team that just looked unstoppable. Rams took them down the wire, beat them once, and then probably should have beaten them the second time if they could have gotten the 1 seed had they closed the deal in week 16. And then the NFC title game takes a goal line stand to beat Stafford and the Rams, and Stafford was magic in that game as well. Rams should be a contender. This has a little bit of a last dance type of feel, like Stafford's back, Devontae, Puka's at the end of his rookie deal. Like, you're in a spot where, okay, if you don't win this year, Stafford's not getting younger. You have some guys that, kind of age out, so we'll see what happens with LA in 2026. And obviously, no debate here, the best team in the NFL last season was the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks were the best team in the NFL in 2025. I mean, they won 14 games. They were the number 1 seed in the far tougher conference, annihilated their first playoff opponent in San Francisco, a division rival, by the way. NFC title game, MVP took them to the wire. Stafford did that with a lot of the best teams in the NFL this season. In the Super Bowl, they smacked the Patriots around for 60 minutes. That's what they did. If Sam Darnold, who I think was dealing a little bit of a jitters, if he had been accurate on some of those throws to JSN, to Rashid Shaheed, they win that game maybe 43-8, like the way that they beat the Denver Broncos back in 2013 for their first Super Bowl. But this was just a well-constructed roster. John Schneider deserves a ton of credit for the job that he did in the draft, in free agency, at the trade deadline, bringing in, Rashid Shaheed, who is the true X factor for this team, particularly on special teams, but obviously catching the football, making plays. Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP. Will he be back? Only time will tell. Good offensive line. They've invested in that. Sam Darnold comes in. The ghosts are gone. He is the ultimate ghost buster. He's Peter Venkman for all we know. And Mike McDonald, one of the bright he's a defensive guy, one of the bright young coaches in this league. Losing Kubiak, there's a little bit of a concern there. He's going to the Raiders. We'll see how he does there. That's the only downside about having a defensive coach, is that if you had that brilliant offensive mind, guess what? He's getting hired. That's why the Patriots are in good position with Josh McDaniels. Terrible head coach, great OC. He's not going anywhere. But the Seattle Seahawks, so well run of a franchise. They're going to have new ownership coming in there soon. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. They're the best team in football from start to finish. They are at number 1 on the list. So let's go and look at my top 10 teams from last season. Pretty straightforward. So we usually do 10 to 1. We'll do 1 to 10. So Seahawks, Rams, Patriots, Broncos, Bears to round out the top 5. And the final 5 in the top 10. Bills, Jaguars, Texans, Niners, and Eagles. With that, we will take a quick break. When we come back, a segment we do every year at this time, pretenders and contenders in the National Basketball Association. That coming up in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. I appreciate everybody for stopping by on a Wednesday. Again, no show on Friday, but we should be back on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Might next week during the Combine, might have the first mock draft coming down the pipe. So stay tuned for all of that, but very, very excited for what we got moving forward on this show. So we do a segment every year at this time, pretenders and contenders. It's pretty straightforward. Who are the teams I think good, but not good enough to hoist the Larry O'Brien Trophy? And who are the teams that, yeah, I think absolutely can. If you had a crystal ball and said 4 months from now, this team's going to hold the trophy, I'd say, yeah, I could see that. So let's go and start. We're going to start with the weaker of the two conferences. We're going to start with the East. Get one easy one out of the way. The Charlotte Hornets. They're certainly a pretender. But listen, Charlotte, they've been one of the hottest teams in basketball for the last month, really since the turn of the new year. You talk about LaMelo Ball, Knippel. The battle between he and Cooper Flack for Rookie of the Year is going to be fun. They've both been sensational. Knippel is shooting the you-know-what out of the basketball. Brandon Miller, Charlotte's got a bright future. They've drafted well. Those guys have panned out, but obviously, even in a weak East, they're not quite ready to take the next step at winning a championship. I really thought in the summer that this was a team I'd have it in the contender status. I can't. It's the Orlando Magic. So listen, I'm a fan of Paolo Banchero. I am. Franz Wagner has been injured this season and now came out today. He's going to be out indefinitely. And I'll be honest, I think you're probably going to see a coaching change this offseason because they brought in Desmond Bane. It's like, okay, maybe the Magic can take that next step. They take the Cavs 7 in the first round of 2023. They get gentlemen swept by the Celtics last year, and this year they're probably getting swept or gentlemen swept again in the first round. Feels like you probably need a coaching change of some sort. So yeah, the Magic are indisputably pretenders. Here's who is a contender. Team with the best record in the conference, the Detroit Pistons. What a run that this team has had in the last few years. Just a couple of years ago, folks, they had the longest losing streak in NBA history. Today, best record in the Eastern Conference. Only a few games back of the Oklahoma City Thunder for the best record in all of basketball. Kate Cunningham, legit MVP candidate. There's no question about it. Jalen Duren, the job that they have done putting this team together through the draft and free agency. JB Bickerstaff is probably going to be the coach of the year, as he should be. He's done an absolutely outstanding job with this group. They can lock you up defensively, get whatever shot they want on the opposite side, shoot the basketball. The Detroit Pistons, indisputably contender. I don't know what people see in this team. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a pretender in every sense of the term. Look, some people might think, you're hating on them because you hate Cleveland. Listen, Cleveland people are very, very nice. They're very friendly. They are also very delusional when it comes to their sports. And they're delusional on this team. You mean to tell me a team that won 60-plus games a year ago and got gentlemen swept in the second round? Well, we had injuries. Yeah, everybody's got injuries. You mean to tell me that team that adds the most notorious playoff choke artist in the history, maybe of sports, James Harden. That team now has a better chance to win the championship. Oh, they've been hot as of late. Offensively, man. Yeah, that's the trick that Harden pulls on you every time. I bet the Sixers thought, man, team's looking better now we got Harden. And the Clippers thought the same thing. And so the Nets and the Rockets. Like, this is the pattern this guy has. So, no, they're not a contender. Just by virtue of having James Harden as an in-score member of the team, they're not a contender. A couple more pretenders. A couple of pretty easy ones. Philadelphia 76ers are a pretender. Listen, seeing Joel Embiid back out there and doing Joel Embiid things, looking like, hey, he's the second best big in the league to Jokic, that's been awesome to see. I didn't think we would necessarily get this from Embiid because of his list of injuries. At the same time, we talk about playoff choke artist. I wouldn't put Embiid quite into choke artist category, but again, only MVP in the history of the National Basketball Association to never get to a conference finals. That is still on his resume. Maxi's phenomenal. He's had maybe the best year of his career. Edgecombe, the kid that they draft, has been outstanding. Reminds you a little bit of a young Jimmy Butler to a certain degree. Sixers fans are high on Nick Nurse, some late game decision making. That will probably be their downfall when we do playoff strengths and weaknesses. That's probably what we're going to say for the 76ers. Not good enough to win a championship. Neither the Toronto Raptors, but again, this for the pretender status on Toronto is not a bad thing per se. Obviously, Scotty Barnes has been good. Brandon Ingram, all-star caliber guy. The coaching staff has done a good job. And again, this Toronto team, young guys, they've drafted well, began bringing in Brandon Ingram at last year's trade deadline has helped them tremendously. They'll be a playoff team. They're ahead of schedule. We'll see how Toronto continues to progress, but maybe can win a playoff series. It is the Eastern Conference. Can't go further than that. Next up, New York Knicks. I think no question they're a championship contender. This is a championship or bust type of year for New York. So you consider a team 2023 knocked out in the second round in 6 games. 2024, knocked out in the second round in 7 games. And Knicks fans will tell you, if we had been healthy, we beat Indiana. Well, maybe, but you were healthy in 2025, and you lost Indiana in a 6-game series to Halliburton and the Pacers. So, listen, Jalen Brunson, his clutch performance in the playoffs, that kind of speaks for itself. Obviously, had the game winner last year to end the series against Detroit in the first round. Cat, there's always some concerns about foul trouble, about consistency on the opposite side of the floor. Oh, Giannonobi. But listen, I think bringing in Mike Brown's not a perfect coach, to say the very least. But Mike Brown, did coach the Sacramento Kings to a 3 seed once upon a time. And Mike Brown believes in having a deep bench, unlike his predecessor in Thibodeau. So, I think that's something that's going to play for the Knicks. And again, the home court advantage, I would argue, of any team in the postseason this year, no team in basketball has a greater home court advantage than the Knicks have at Madison Square Garden. Didn't help them the first 2 games of the conference finals against Indiana, but Tyrese Halliburton was on the greatest clutch run of all time. So maybe forgive him a little bit. They've got some playoff scoring, some experience from not getting quite to that next level. This is championship or bust. The Knicks are absolutely a championship contender. And I think, honestly, I'm going to say it. The Boston Celtics are championship contenders. And it's, I shouldn't say singularly, if the news coming out of Boston regarding Jason Tatum wasn't as positive as it was, I'd say good team. Maybe they could get to a conference finals. They can't win 4 rounds. If Jason Tatum comes back at some point in the next 2 to 3 weeks from the Achilles, eases his way back in the lineup, the rest of the regular season, seeding be damned for Boston. Getting him healthy, getting him into rhythm to where by mid to late first round, he's at least 85% of Jason Tatum. The way Jaylen Brown's played this year, to me, if the season continues to progress the way it has, he will be in my top 5 for MVP if I had a ballot. Jaylen Brown will indisputably be on it. Bring in Nikola Vucevic, bad defensive player, but I've kind of wanted the Warriors to bring him in for some time. That's a great guy to bring in for Anthony Simons. Brings you some size, somebody who could score as a stretch 5. Boston's deep. Boston's well coached. Joe Mazzulla's done a good job. They can play defense. I mean, the Celtics literally won a championship 2 years ago. Injuries maybe halted them, and some choke jobs against the Knicks in games 1 and 2 halted them from getting to the conference finals again. If you told me the Celtics win the title because Jason Tatum comes back, I think Polymarket gives him like an 80% chance of return. Sounds like he's coming back. I buy in the Eastern Conference as currently constructed. I buy the Boston Celtics as a championship contender. Let's go to the West. Let's go to some teams I do not buy at all. The Los Angeles Clippers. So they weren't a contender when they had James Harden because A, it's James Harden. B, yeah, they'd gotten hot. Yes, they had gone from a stretch where, holy crap, they're the 13 seed to they could, if they get hot enough, maybe get into the 7-8 spot and just have to win one game to get in the postseason. Kawhi Leonard, kudos to him, knock on wood, has been healthy. We saw him in the All-Star game recently just go on a heater, scoring, I believe, 31 points in that game. He's been great. We know how great of a coach Ty Lue is, but I mean, come on. They traded Zubats, by the way. That was kind of the move that, people won't start paying attention to until next season when the Pacers get Halliburton back and are a contender again. I was shocked they made that move. Zubats has been a stalwart in that starting lineup, like a borderline all-star caliber big. The Clippers are not championship contenders. Who's next? Western Conference, Phoenix Suns. No, you're not contenders. Listen, I love Devin Booker. I'm a Devin Booker guy. One of the most pure scorers at the two-guard position as we've seen in some time. I think coaching-wise, there's really nothing you could say about that. Listen, man, they've got Dylan Brooks. They've got Dylan Brooks, a guy whose playoff performance plummets from his regular season, production. He's had the best year of his career this year. Kudos to him. End of games, not great in clutch situations, but here's what you can count off your Suns fans should they get in the postseason, and I think they will. What you can count on from Dylan Brooks is whoever the best player on the other team is, he's going to get so distracted by said player that is going to get to a situation where it dooms his team, and they probably get gentlemen swept in the first round. I think Phoenix is going to take a little bit of a step back post All-Star break. They're absolutely contender. Pretender. Contender. I went back and forth on this, I'll be honest. I'll buy into them. The Minnesota Timberwolves are contenders. So they've been one of the better teams in the league. I was kind of looking at their schedule and seeing like, okay, they weren't beating San Antonio or Oklahoma City or some of the best teams in the West, Denver. And as of late, they have. As of late, they beat Oklahoma City right before Christmas. Ant Edwards hit the dagger shot at the end of that game, which was one of my top favorite moments from the NBA season thus far. Listen, Ant Edwards has the reputation thus far of kind of being the giant killer in the postseason. You look at 2024, he knocked Kevin Durant out of the playoffs, and Devin Booker, by the way. Second round, he knocks Jokic out of the playoffs when the Nuggets were the defending champions, loses to Luka and Kyrie in the conference finals. Last year, knocks LeBron and Luka out of the postseason, beats the Warriors, albeit Steph played, 10 minutes in that series, 10, 13 minutes, something like that. And then obviously they get gentlemen swept by a much better Oklahoma City Thunder team. But again, playoff experience, they've gone to back-to-back Western Conference finals. They have beaten Denver in the past. Obviously, they gentlemen swept the Lakers a season ago. They've got size, Julius Randle. All the playoff concerns we had about Julius Randle last season, that wasn't really a problem. He was good against the Lakers, good against the Warriors. Dante DiVincenzo's a guy who's been around the block, has played some playoff games, won a championship with Milwaukee in 2021. I'm a big fan of Jaden McDaniels, a guy who can lock up the number one wing player on the other side of the basketball. And Chris Finch, one of the top coaches in basketball, man. He was kind of the first guy who set the blueprint on how to give Oklahoma City some problems. Could that be something that maybe the Timberwolves themselves expose? A battle-tested team that faced Oklahoma City and got crushed by Oklahoma City last year? Only time will tell. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are championship contenders. The LA Lakers are absolutely not championship contenders. They're a pretender. It's pretty obvious. They can't guard anybody. The way their roster constructed, they're just going to have to outscore teams. They remind me in some ways of, remember, again, this is the second time I've referenced them, the 2023 Sacramento Kings, where it's got guys that can put the ball in the hoop. Domantas Sabonis, get well soon. To him, he's out for the season. Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Harrison. They can't guard anybody. Same case with the Lakers. Bron can still score, give you 20 to 25 points. Luka's Luka. And by the way, great playoff performer, to his credit. Austin Reeves, bad playoffs last year, but is having the best year of his career in 2025-26. Just came back from injury. You added Luke Kennard, who could shoot the you-know-what out of the basketball. DeAndre Ayton. None of those guys can play defense. Luka won't play defense. Austin Reeves can't. Bron can't. Ayton doesn't. And, that's the reality for this team. JJ Redick, ironically, he's the defensive guy, and yet the Lakers can't guard anybody. That's going to be something that haunts them as time goes on. They can maybe get one or two playoff wins. By wins, I mean games. I think they're a first-round exit in 2026. As much as this hurts me to say, folks, I have eyeballs, and I have an objective basketball, perspective. My Warriors are pretenders. They're pretenders. Listen, Steph Curry is one of those athletes you never, ever, ever bet against him in a 7-game series. That's about the only thing. Now, I will say, bringing Kristaps Porzingis, he fits great with the Warriors. Stretch 5, the Warriors fans like myself have been begging for size, for a legit rim protector. He is that. But with the autoimmune condition, how much is he even going to be out there? Like if Porzingis was healthy, especially if Porzingis was healthy and Jimmy Butler didn't blow his ACL, holy crap, here we go. That's not the case. Draymond Green has fallen off a cliff on the defensive side of the floor. Still good. He did a pretty good job against Victor Wembanyama from a mind standpoint. It's still Wemby. If the Warriors end up in a 7-game series with the Spurs, they can take him 6. Steph has never been gentleman swept in his career. They're not good enough to beat a team with the size of the San Antonio Spurs, as an Oklahoma City Thunder, as a Denver Nuggets. Like some of the guys the Warriors have on their bench, Gary Payton, Guy Santos. Don't like the number of minutes Pods is playing at all. Kerr, please listen to us on that. The Warriors maybe could steal a series. It's Steph Curry. You never bet against them. They're not going further than that. If Jimmy was healthy, I'd feel differently, but he's not healthy, so that is not the case. Denver Nuggets, indisputably, they're championship contenders. So again, obviously they won the title 3 years ago. Jokic, they were able to survive the time in which Jokic was out due to injury. Jamal Murray, first-time All-Star. We were kind of waiting. When's Jamal Murray going to have that breakout season where, okay, because usually Jamal's coming to the season out of shape, playing himself into shape, and then there's playoff Jamal. Well, now he's been at regular season Jamal. You have to imagine that type of confidence will suit him well in the postseason. Give credit to Adelman, the job he did. Took over at the very end of the regular season last year. They fire Mike Malone. What are they doing? Oh, wait a second. They knock the Clippers out, and they take OKC 7. Despite Jokic not having his best start-to-finish series of his playoff career. Again, Jokic is the best player in the world. Like, that's the assurance for Nuggets fans. The downside is that they're a bad defensive team. With that said, if you go into a series with SGA and the Thunder, with Wemby and the Spurs, whoever, you go in knowing we have the best player in any series that we're in. And that helps them a ton. Again, Aaron Gordon has been a great playoff performer in the past. I like Denver's, ancillary pieces like Peyton Watson, guys like that. Denver's a dangerous team. If they win the title, wouldn't shock me in the slightest. They're absolutely a championship contender. I wasn't in on this team before the season. Recent events has me really out on the team right now. The Houston Rockets are pretenders. I do not see this team. Frankly, I don't see them getting to the Western Conference Finals, if I'm being completely honest. So the pieces are there. Kevin Durant, still playing great basketball, all-star caliber guy. Alperen Şengün, who had his first taste of playoff basketball, had some highs, had some lows. There's that experience there. Amin Thompson, who I friggin' love. What he can give him both sides of the ball. If he's able to, over time, develop a consistent bag, scoring the opposite side of the ball, oh my gosh, what is this kid going to do in the future? And I think Ime Udoka is a very, very good coach. With that being said, they already didn't have Fred VanVleet, their point guard, championship winning point guard from the Toronto Raptors in 2019. They already didn't have him coming into the season because he had a season-ending injury. Now they don't have Steven Adams. So they're still a big team. They still have Jabari Smith, Şengün, KD. Steven Adams is a difference maker, is a guy who can create second shot opportunities, can man the paint. Not having him to, for the rest of the season is devastating. And again, the recent, whether it's true or not, the KD burner stuff, it's something. It's not good for the locker room. I'll tell you that right now. I haven't been in on the Rockets before the start of the season. People got on me for that. I think I've been validated in that. They're a good team. They can win a playoff series. I don't really have them even as a conference finals team unless the second-round team they face has like catastrophic injuries or something. The Rockets are a championship pretender. And then obviously the last but certainly not least, this is an obvious one. Or I should say the last two, the Oklahoma City Thunder, championship contenders, no questions about it. Again, the defending champs, best record in basketball. Shea's probably going to go back-to-back for MVP. I will say, whether it's due to boredom or whatever the case may be, as of late, haven't played their best basketball. The Jalen Williams injury, oddly, they've at times played better without Jalen Williams than with him. Is there like a fit issue? I don't think there is, because they won 68 games last year, and Jalen Williams has that big Game 5 against Indiana. I don't know what's going on in that situation, but yeah, they should, at worst case scenario, be playing a Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. Worst case scenario. It's the best defensive team in basketball. Shea, for his foul baiting, which drives me and I think any person who loves basketball insane. He can still score from the mid-range. He's a better three-point shooter than people give him credit for. Can score in the paint. Chet Holmgren's had a great season this year. Caruso, no reason Oklahoma City shouldn't be worst case in the Western Conference Finals. And honestly, I think they're going to meet this team. The San Antonio Spurs finally championship contender. I'll just go and do it now. Folks, I'll go ahead and do it right now. I'm picking the Spurs to win the title. I alluded to it last week. I'm in on the San Antonio Spurs winning the title in 2026. So Wemby's Wemby. We know who he is. We have yet to see this man in the postseason. I feel like it's going to be a OMG, welcome to being in the discussion, if not being the guy for the best player in basketball. You have him and De'Aaron Fox, who has some playoff experience of his own, put a real scare in my Warriors with the Sacramento Kings. Third reference to this team in 2023. Again, you've got guys, Keldon Johnson, you've got Stephon Castle, all this deep roster, deep bench, like well-coached squad, great in the defensive side of the ball, can get whatever the shot, sell whatever shot they want on the opposite side of the ball. Maybe they just run into Oklahoma City and the experience of the Thunder is what knocks San Antonio out. Maybe. But they're 4-1 against the Thunder this year. I can't ignore that. I'm sorry. I can't ignore that. And so if we get into Western Conference Finals with these teams, I'm telling you right now, barring catastrophic injury, I'm picking San Antonio. And let's be honest, this is one of those years. The Western Conference Finals will be the NBA Finals. I don't see the Knicks, the Pistons, the Celtics. I don't see any of those teams knocking out a Spurs or a Thunder, barring catastrophic injury. But the San Antonio Spurs, without a question, are championship contenders. So there you go. That's what I got for the second half. We say second half of the NBA season. There's like 25 games left, so do the math. 25, 82. That's not the second half. Regardless, I wanted so bad to like convince myself that the Warriors were title contenders because as some of you, many of you might remember, opening night, I said, if Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond are healthy, I'm picking them to win the title. Well, guess what? Jimmy blew his ACL. Right when the Warriors were getting hot. They were won 12 of 16. They were playing good basketball. Steph wasn't even playing that well, and the Warriors were hot. And Nick Friedel, by the way, came out. Nick Friedel does a great job covering the team. He came out and he said, Steph is looking to prove everybody wrong. He knows he doesn't have that many playoff runs left. He's wanting to make a push at it. Look, if Steph pulls that off, like if he actually did this, like put him in the GOAT discussion for. I mean, if he does it with this, that's not going to happen. This team can't. It can't. No Jimmy Butler, they can't win a title. I'm sorry. Hope I'm wrong. That'd be amazing if I'm wrong, but I don't see it. With that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live next Monday. No show on Friday. We'll be back next Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube, as well as on Facebook, Twitch, X, and on Instagram. Hope everybody has a great rest of their week, great weekend, the whole bit. We'll see you guys next Monday. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. Do us proud, Steph. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.